Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. And look who's back. It's Taylor Kitchen from TobyChristie.com. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Well, and of course, I should say the host of Above the Yellow Line on TobyChristie.com.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how are things? I know you had some recent big news. Of course, you graduated college from Bowling Green. That's a whole, that's exciting. Just yeah, what was it like to just I know you've been through a lot in the entire life of the last few years. So what was that like to graduate college?
Exciting. I mean, bittersweet. I like to say I'm not totally an emotional person. But I got to the day of the ceremony, cried my eyes out, moving out, cried my eyes out. But I'm so thankful to have gone to a school that has supported me and my journey. And even though like what I want to do is not at Bowling Green necessarily, I've had professors and everyone like that who's just been so supportive and helping me kind of find my path. And yeah, so it's been great. I'm glad to graduate, get to focus on what I want to do. Finally get to deep dive into what I want to do. And yeah, it's all good, all exciting. Got my degree and we're ready to take on the world. So all good.
So, let's just talk about let's dive into there's been a lot of interesting things that have happened this season, but let's talk about the most recent news yesterday, in case you haven't noticed or didn't know, or just tuning in. Legacy Motor Club announced that they will be moving from Chevrolet to Toyota in 2024. Yes, Noah Gragson and Eric Jones, or are back in the family. They of course were Toyota drivers at one point in time, and Jimmy Johnson is, after so many years with Chevrolet, is now partnered with Toyota. Now, of course, he ran a Honda and IndyCar, but what is it going to be like? Is it going to be weird seeing Jimmy in a Toyota shirt or something? Or
it's going to be so weird. And there's so many comments I've seen on social media. And Casey, I don't know if you've seen these too, but people being like, I no longer support Jimmy Johnson. I can't do it. And I'm like, he's still the same Jimmy Johnson that we know and love. It's just he's wanting to better the company that he's at. And I think personally for me, I think them moving to Toyota is a good move. One, Toyota adds numbers. Two, I think you have a close-knit group of people, and the more close-knit the group of people you work with are, I hope that made sense grammatically. I mean, you share more data, you have a closer relationship, you get to work together more closely, and they get, I think, more attention to them as well. And not saying that Chevy wasn't paying attention to them, but you have a closer eye on you. So when you need help, you can get it faster. At least that's what I hope this partnership is going to be. So I hope it excels their program a little bit. Now, their goal someday is to be a championship caliber team. That's what we've said. Press and everything like that. That's what they've said. It's going to be a long time if they can get to that point, but I think this is a step in the right direction to get their performance a little better to start. It might be a struggle at first, but like you said, Jones and Gregson are in the family, so it'll be kind of like a homecoming. So fingers crossed, this is exactly what Legacy Motor Club needs.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see that. And Maury Gallagher said yesterday and during the the big Toyota call, he's not getting any younger, and he wants to win now. And this is this team has seen so many big changes, whether regardless of team names, new drivers, team name changes, and I think this has got to be the biggest change in a span of 4 years. 2021, of course, Eric Jones and Richard Petty Motorsports. 2022, teams renames to Pay GMS, adds a second car. This year, Noah Gragson comes in, team changes name to Legacy Motor Club, Jimmy Johnson comes in, and then, of course, next year, and this is probably the biggest change of them all, is anytime you change manufacturers, it's, obviously new concepts, new ideas. Obviously, they'll be going to the TRD engines. So it's a lot of changes for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you think the season's been going so far, at least on the Cup side?
Yeah, Cup side of things, I think it's been a decent season. I think, racing wise, there's been a huge topic of conversation around the lack of ability to pass. And I mean, we saw some of that last year too in the short track package. It was supposed to make things better. I think it has, but nothing's ever going to be perfect. I think the whole conversation around, all right, we lowered the downforce. Where's the horsepower? When are we going to raise that? I want to see low downforce, higher horsepower. And I think at Dover, at least, a step in the right direction. Changing the tire compound a little bit is at least what I've heard. We saw a lot more tire wear, I should say, which was good. And I think it made the racing product just a little bit better too. But moving in the right direction. I know I've heard drivers say, like NASCAR's not going to raise the horsepower. They're just not going to do it. Probably not this year, maybe never. 2024, I think NASCAR should think about it for sure. But the racing itself this year has been good. I think there's been great storylines. I will say it's going to be hard to top just the craziness of last year when we moved to the Gen 7 car. We had different winners, like literally every single weekend. It's a hard season to top, but at least I think you can agree with me maybe a little bit on this. This season, we're back to some normalcy. It's not crazy. And NASCAR 75 years, we want to focus on that, not the tires suck or the racing sucks or the cars are awful. All the crazy talk that was happening last year, I don't hear a lot of this year, which is really nice. So overall, got to say it's been a pretty good year so far.
Yeah, I'd say so. So obviously a lot of talks this year and obviously recent headlines, the next TV deal. A lot of talk about that. Obviously, as the ever-changing world goes from direct to the linear version to the more direct to consumer, it looks like a lot of streaming partners have come on board. Obviously, I think the biggest name is Amazon that's been floated around this. What do you think? What do you think the TV package might look like next in 2025?
Yeah, so talking about like the streaming and those deals, I think we're definitely going to see a streaming element into this, right? Talking about like, Amazon maybe hopping on board, like a 6-race summer series, maybe more. Streaming, I think there's two ways to look at this, Casey. You can either say, hey, streaming, we're in the right direction. We're reaching the younger audience. Everyone's kind of ditching the cable. Like, that's great, right? But you also have to think of this audience that maybe isn't living in a great area. My Wi-Fi at my house is not the best. So streaming is tricky sometimes. And if I want to watch a race, especially working, and I'm not able to catch the race because my Wi-Fi isn't great, I live in the middle of nowhere, that's tough for a NASCAR fan. And if that's going to be their only option to watch a race, you're going to lose viewers. So that's something to think about too. But I like the idea of bringing NASCAR more towards a streaming platform. I think it's had to be done for a while. And even then, I'm not sure if this is going to happen or not, but if there was a like solely just NASCAR based streaming platform, like just NASCAR motorsports in general, I would love that. Is that going to happen? Probably not. But I think a step in the right direction. They just have to be cautious with is their audience able to access this or not?
Yeah. So here's something that also that's been been interesting popping up. The 4 car, who's going to be in there next year? It looks like many people, we might actually have an answer to that. A lot of reports out there saying that Josh Berry is going to be in that 4 car. Obviously, we'll have to see how that goes. But overall, what do you think of if he was able to do that? Because it was reported that he was going to be signing with KHI Management.
Yeah, if signing with KHI, if Ford is able to snatch him, I think that's great. Good for them. I mean, really talented driver. Obviously, would I like to see him move in with the Chevy camp in 2024 in the Cup Series if possible? Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love to see him stay kind of in that lane. But you have to look at the seats that are open. And with this news coming out with him signing with KHI, I mean, you connect the dots, Casey. He's probably going to be in the 4. I think it's a solid move. I think Stewart-Haas Racing is in an age where they're having to kind of rethink their program. Who do they have in there? Do they have drivers that can get consistent finishes, who can put together solid races, who can win championships? And I think Josh Berry is that guy that can do that. We've seen what he can do, obviously, like apples and oranges a little bit, but what he can do in Hendrick Motorsports equipment when he's having to be thrown in there on the fly with these injuries. And he's done pretty well. I think doing the math, he has an average finishing position of his 6 races that he's done of 16th. Not the best, not the worst, though. It's better than some regulars that we see in the Cup Series week in, week out. Again, it's Hendrick Motorsports equipment. But I think it's a good thing to grab him in, and I think he could potentially take their program to the next level, but it's going to be an adjustment.
Yeah. So, let's obviously talk about what's going to go happen this week. Of course, NASCAR will be at Kansas Speedway for the first 2 times in 2023. Going back to a mile and a half. So we haven't been on one of those since Vegas. So what's that going to be like as we head to the second kind of mile and a half of the year?
Yeah, I think something I've noticed a little bit this year is the mile and a half racing. And I don't know if this is because of like tire package, whatever it is. It hasn't been as great as I think I remember last year, but I think again, it was kind of the whimsy of the new car and the excitement and everything like that. But I mean, with Kansas, we know last year 2311 swept it. I mean, they were so strong. I expect them to be strong again this time around. Toyota as a whole, but also keeping in mind, I mean, Hendrick Motorsports is pretty good at this track too. So seeing what they can do as well. But I'm expecting at least some good racing. I will say after the stretch of short tracks, which it was a fun stretch, and we had a road course thrown in there and a super speedway thrown in there with Talladega. I am excited to go back to a normal mile and a half. I'm excited to see what that brings, and hopefully good luck for 2311 racing. I think that 23 team needs good luck. I think Reddick needs some good luck. I know he has a win already this season, but hopefully good things to come for their teams.
Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of those tracks coming up because obviously Darlington's its own beast, and then of course we got the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, then of course the Coke 600, and then yeah, I know you're gonna be there.
I'm so excited.
I know you were there last year.
It was so good.
I know it was, and then Gateway, and then Sonoma and before the off week. So we're gonna be in a really really interesting stretch of tracks coming up these next few months. So it'll be exciting.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and we'll see you at the track pretty soon.
Thank you so much.